Hi, I am Rachael Murton. I'm the Wildlife Rescue Director for Game Rangers International here in Zambia. And together with Mary Muyoyeta, we are delighted to be able to present to you today on how Game Rangers International tackles conservation through the lens of an orphaned elephant. GRI supports wildlife conservation holistically through three main approaches: resource protection, community outreach and wildlife rescue. Through resource protection, we empower government and community rangers to better secure Zambia's protected areas, using both traditional patrol teams and special intelligence-led response work. Through community outreach, we aim to raise conservation awareness and support sustainable livelihoods in communities living alongside protected areas. And through the work of our wildlife rescue teams, we work with national parks to support the welfare provisions for Zambia's wildlife, with emphasis and focus on elephant orphans in particular. Over the last 13 years, we have focused our efforts primarily in and around the Kafue National Park. The Elephant Orphanage project was established to rescue, rehabilitate and release Zambia's orphaned elephants back into the wild. It was established in 2008 with GRI's inception. Over the years, we have developed an elephant nursery in Lusaka, dedicated to the newly rescued and most vulnerable orphans, and a release facility in Kafue National Park, where the orphans are gradually reintegrated back into the wild once they're old enough to be weaned. We have often been asked how the investment in orphaned elephants contributes significantly to conservation, and that perhaps the money spent on the individual's care might be diverted into population protection. There is no doubt that rescuing elephants can be a very costly and challenging experience, but with elephants classified as endangered, we believe that every individual counts. However, it is critically important that there is a wider conservation and research value to this rehabilitation work, as well as using the heart-rending and tragic stories of these young orphans to bring international interest and funding to support the wild elephants in the wild spaces they inhabit. Rescue stories have the potential to engage a global audience to support the challenges being faced on the ground. They are a brutal visual of the outcome of a poaching or a conflict incident, as you can see here with our most recent elephant rescue. Most rescues involve working with the community who live alongside a protected area, and in many cases this has actually improved the relationship with the community that we're working alongside. The Nkala Game Management Area borders Kafue National Park as a buffer zone and forms part of the orphan release area. When he was only 3 months old, this young orphan was discovered by a farmer after a conflict incident. Having heard our radio show, the farmer made swift contact and we could bring this young elephant to safety. But his rescue highlights the challenges of human-elephant coexistence in this area, and it's essential in the interest of preventing more orphans and ensuring the long-term orphan survival when they are actually released back in the wild, that we work very closely with this particular community. By maintaining good communications and linking our support to the community through the Elephant Orphanage, we have been able to work with the community here in rescuing other orphans as they've occurred, as well as fostering a more positive feeling between the community and conservation efforts. In doing so, we aim to safeguard the future of these orphans and their wild counterparts by working towards a more sustainable coexistence between communities and wildlife. Essentially, this community in Nkala has benefited significantly as a result of GRI's investment in the elephant orphans, as we simultaneously invest in the community who can offer the elephants protection in the long term if they see the value and benefits of wildlife and conservation. Within the rehabilitation system, the elephant orphans usually spend their first 3 years at the nursery until they're able to be weaned from milk. Here they are completely dependent on their keepers, who provide them with nutrition, nurture and the comfort that they need to recover physically and emotionally. Once they're ready, they're relocated to the release facility in Kafue National Park, where they are gradually weaned from human support, in both nutrition and security, until they are ready to live independently in the wild, which is usually around 12 years old. Throughout this time, we collect data on all the nutrition we provide them, as well as their health and growth or any medical or behavioural challenges or changes. This constant monitoring and evaluation of the orphan's progress informs management decisions to ensure best practice and elephant welfare throughout their journey of rehabilitation. Our data collection begins at point of rescue and continues at any opportunity arising, such as when an elephant is collared or has to be sedated for any reason. During that time, we take biological samples, which we hope will help develop a biobank for Zambian elephants. Through consistent data collection, we can analyse successes and challenges and also the failures across the rescue cases. And these learnings are vital in our growing understanding of elephant orphan crisis management. We also hope that these learnings will help support others as they formulate and refine our own SOPs, and we can share these on as needed and as requested. I'm now going to hand over to Mary, our research assistant, to explain more about some of the specific areas of research.
Hello, my name is Mary Muyoyeta, research assistant from Game Rangers International, Zambia. An important non-stream data that we collect is behavior observation studies, which started in 2014. From there, we are aiming to understand the behavior development of orphaned elephants to inform management decision and ensure their welfare. Behavior is essential for not only looking at orphaned elephants from the moment of their rescue, but we also hoping to give them the best chance of survival in the wild. Contributing to the wider understanding of the elephant behavior, most elephants research that has been done is done on captive elephants or wild populations. We fall somewhere in between these two categories. The elephants that we have in our care are not wild yet, but we understand them at an individual level. This will give us a unique point of view and an opportunity to contribute to the understanding in a different way most of the research has not done yet. For example, the value of the behavior observation studies is highlighted through a focus on our visitors' impact on the orphans. At the nursery, the elephants are able to be viewed for an hour by our distance viewing deck. This aim is to minimize the impact of visitors upon the elephants with the long term of minimizing their affiliation with humans once they are released. There's a number of factors that would determine the release success and the ability of an elephant to live safely back into the wild, and here are some of the few significant facts noted. In order to evidence success and indeed determine the elephant orphanage concept viable, we need to monitor the elephants long term. All elephants are actually fitted with a GPS collar once they show any evidence of independence from the keepers and the release facility. This actually happens around the age of 9 to 10 years old. In our success data to date, we have actually acknowledged two key milestone events of elephant release, which is 14-year Chamilandu having produced a wild-born calf, and Batoka, 13-year-old, have been moving freely with wild elephants since February 2020. There is a number of adult elephants tendering at the point of actual release, and we anticipate on seeing them moving off into the wild very soon. We are excited to note that one of our other elephants, Tafika, who has actually gained way more confidence to work with wild elephant, was spotted about 30 kilometers away from camp on the other side of the lake boundary in the head of 50 to 60 wild elephants, and we are excited to see what his journey is going to be. Having these collars on the elephants, this enables us to actually know the movement patterns of wild elephants, their association with, and actually get to know the wider population of the elephants in the Kafue National Park. Currently, we are collaborating with a postdoc research student, Dr. Daniela from Indiana University, USA, who is studying how early experience of trauma such as poaching, often through poaching, will influence an elephant's biology, especially their health and the way they'll age. This study utilizes both the orphaned elephants and the wild elephant data, therefore increasing our opportunities to further understand local and wild LMP elephants. The collars actually have virtual fences which will alert us if the elephants actually enter agricultural land or the boundary of human settlements. This will send a signal to our human-elephant conflict team that will be on site and help mitigate the situation. Under our human-elephant coexistence, we have been supporting nearby communities with a number of methodologies to actually deter elephants from their crops. These active deterrents include one of the IEF funded project in 2020 to equip a dedicated HCC ranger unit with a series of deterrents and tactical ways to reinforce communities and deploy chili bombs and low-cost human-made method of mitigation. Combining the two will improve their effectiveness and hence reducing the risk of habituation. Working with farmer under our empowerment, we trial sunflower as an alternative cash crop, which will improve livelihood and give them an alternative crop to produce that will actually mediate and help mitigate the human conflict that happens between the wildlife and the people there. The orphans have also made it very possible to take research beyond purely observational to more of an experimental approaches to look more closely at the HEC mitigation such as Elis-Mealy repellent in partnership with World Aid. This is a project that was that Mars actually presented at the IEF symposium in 2019. It is unknown how exactly the wild elephants will react to this repellent, given that the conflict primarily happens in the dark and often in dangerous situations and in remote areas. As part of the collaboration, we aim to shed more light on this by undertaking controlled trials and observing the reaction of the elephants to the repellent.
Thanks, Mary. So we have touched on applied research and the community support in relation to the elephant orphanage, and I just wanted to highlight here the essential security support in and around Kafue National Park. The map here shown with the green circle is the anticipated release area, and in this area GRI empowers 78 rangers across 4 different units. These rangers operate through both traditional patrols as well as intelligence-led rapid response deployments. Understanding both the orphan and wild elephant movements in this area is helpful in planning ranger deployments, and in particular streak alerts, which are a feature of some collars and can indicate rapid movements, can be indicative of illegal activity. I also wanted to highlight the additional surveillance system implemented on the south section of the lake with WWF and FLIR, which provides increased security to what has traditionally been a very porous border of the park, enabling wildlife crimes, which included elephant poaching. So the release facility can be seen here just a few kilometres from the lake, and this additional level of security will greatly benefit the releasing orphans and the local wild population. And that brings us to our closing slide, which summarises very briefly GRI's holistic approach to conservation and the important place that these orphaned elephants hold within it. In addition to the 22 elephants currently within our care, our team also responds to calls of injured elephants and other wildlife, aiming to bolster the capabilities of the National Park's vet unit and support the welfare of Zambia's wildlife, which goes hand in hand with its conservation. We'd like to thank the International Elephant Foundation for this opportunity to present on our work, of which they have been a part for the last few years, and Mary and I now look forward to meeting some of you as we answer any upcoming questions.